I'm Daniel Parson, the farmer educator here at the Oxford College Farm. We grow organically on an 11-acre property. We do about 2.5 acres in crop rotation and use mainly cover cropping and natural fertility inputs for our fertility management. We educate first and second year college students at Oxford College who help us in the fields, along with 5 full-time staff, including me. And we grow about 40,000 pounds of certified organic vegetables every year that go into our dining halls, to a CSA, and to our local farmers markets. Today we're going to be talking about tomato trellising. We use 3 primary methods here, which is tomato caging and single leader in our high tunnels, and another high tunnel where we're using cattle panels and a tapener to keep our crops off the ground. First up, we're talking about single leader trellising, wherein we choose a single leader of the plant and trellis it all the way up, cutting off the suckers and side shoots as we go. It's a little more work, but for indeterminate tomatoes, it's a real game changer. And today we're in a high tunnel with high tunnel specific tomatoes, which allows us to grow a greater density in a smaller space and more yields for this valuable space on the farm. We have a strong roof structure with rebar that we can hang these roller hooks on, and then very strong nylon strings come down to these specialized clips, which have a part that grabs the string and also a part that holds the plant in place. So now I'm going to demo the single leader pruning and trellising. Any of the side shoots or suckers can either be pinched off or cut off depending on their size, and then a clip is placed just below the blooms, because where the blooms are, you're soon to have fruit, and that's where the support is needed. So it goes pretty quick, but you can see that we have to do this pretty much every week as we get new flowers, new suckers to prune. With organic tomatoes, it's all about disease control, and there are a lot of advantages for single leader trellising. You get improved airflow, the plants are nice and upright, it's easy to prune and harvest, and you get more plants per square foot. So in these high value spaces like the high tunnel, it's ideal. Now, with every trellising decision, there are some cons as well, and the main one being the labor it takes to keep up with the pruning and trellising of this method. And also you need strong supports. This can't be done in just any high tunnel. This one is actually a movable tunnel, so it has a strong roof from which we can hang our crop. You just have to make sure you have adequate crop supports to use this method. Single leader trellising is not appropriate for determinate varieties. It's only for indeterminate varieties that will grow up and continue to produce throughout the season. Tomato cages are 5-foot wire structures that hold up the plants. We need to hold them up for disease control on this organic farm and for ease of picking. And we place those cages on the tomatoes. We wire them to a wire that's held up by T-posts placed every 3 to 5 plants. And we do this so that these mainly heirlooms that we grow outside are bushy and big and can fill up the cage. We also use the Florida weave method on some of our determinate tomatoes outside, but we've actually moved away from it because the Florida weave requires that constant upkeep. With the tomato cages, we put the mulch down, we get the cages installed, and we basically walk away until harvest time. To implement your caging setup, you'll need 5-foot T-posts, a roll of 14 or 12 gauge wire, tensioners, ratchet tool for the tensioner, your tomato cages, and little metal wires to attach the cages to the larger wire. Notice that we use 5-foot T-posts here because we're growing heirloom tomatoes. Heirloom tomato plants known for their vigorous growth can become top heavy with fruit. Cages and stakes provide a sturdy framework to hold the plant upright and prevent it from flopping over. All right, we've got our T-posts put up, and I am attaching the wire at one end with Jordan, who is going to pull that wire all the way down to the other end. So now we're gonna cut our wire. You got that wire so it won't unspool. And we're gonna use this strainer. We've got it attached to a wire so it'll go around the T-post. And then we run our wire through the strainer and use the ratchet action to tighten it up. Just like that. When we get it almost as tight as we want it, as tight as we want it by hand, we use this little tool to tighten it further and get it just as tight as we want it. Okay, these little clips that come with the wires or come with the T-posts are easy to install. Now we're going to place the cages and wire them to the wire. So Jordan's placing the cage over the plant, and I'm going to take one of my little wires and attach the cage to the support wire, and that just holds it up. Without that, the cage would fall with the plant. Caging tomatoes is really great for all tomatoes, keeping them up off the ground. It's for disease management. It's especially good for heirlooms and heavy, tall plants, and even sun-gold cherry tomatoes, which are the tall cages behind me. It's not so great if you're tight on space. That's why we don't use it in the high tunnels. It takes a little bit more space to do it. It can lead to restricted airflow if you have bushy plants that are not pruned, and the indeterminates will come over the top of the cages and overtop them toward the end of the season. So those are some of the drawbacks. Here we have cattle panel trellising, which we're using inside of a high tunnel. The high tunnel is here for disease control in our organic farm, and we're using the cattle panel trellising for heirloom tomatoes in our high tunnel. And good reasons to use cattle panel trellising versus the caging: it takes up less space. And that's important in the high tunnel where space is at a premium versus outside. So with cattle panel trellising, you put up T-posts to support the cattle panel, you wire the panel to the T-post, and you leave a gap at the bottom because you want those tomatoes to grow up to the trellising. You don't need that support lower down. So the last step, which has to be done each week, is attaching the plants to the panels. You can attach them to the vertical or the horizontal, but the horizontal will do a better job of holding them up. Cattle panel trellising is easy in some ways. You can easily put up these 16-foot panels. You lift them off of the ground a little bit so the plants can grow to them, but then it's the maintenance that takes time. You have to come back in and tape the plants to the trellising. We were really pleasantly surprised when we started using this. They're pretty quick to take down at the end of the season as well. And that's a key point for trellising. It needs to keep the plants supported for disease management. It needs to be easy to put up and easy to take down at the end of the season. At this point, you've learned about 3 different trellising methods with tomatoes. It's all about disease management on this certified organic farm, and that's the reason we choose these different methods. So in one high tunnel, we've got the single leader design with typical high tunnel disease-resistant varieties for the greatest disease control. Outside, we're using caging because it works better for us with a mulch system, and it still keeps the plants up off the ground and keeps them hopefully disease-free. In our other high tunnel, we're growing heirloom varieties, which we can't grow outside, and we're tying them up to a fencing because of their greater growth. Every farm has its own rhythm. In sustainable agriculture, you've got to find systems that work for you, things that are scalable, sustainable, and work on your farm. We use these methods not just for productivity, but because they meet our goals of maintaining soil health, improving ecological balance, and cycling resources on the farm.